How you doing, and welcome to my channel. Now today I'm having a look at the Asmus Toys Ash Williams from the Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. Now just having a quick look at the box, you can see that we do have the figure on the box, which is nice. I do like to see the figure on the box. That is the prototype figure. I'm just feeling the box there. The lettering on it does have a relief in it. It is embossed. It is a nice little feature. And then we have a sticker on the front there. It says Ash Williams. Because when this figure was first released in 2023, I think this is an updated version of it. But when it was initially released, it had an error on the front there. They had misspelt his name and it said Ash Williams. There was an I missing, so they ended up printing up a bunch of stickers and putting it across the error on the front. And if you don't believe me, I actually picked up one of the original ones, one of the early ones back in 2023, I'm sure. And you can see there the clerical error Ash Williams written on the front there, which was a major oversight on Asmus Collectibles behalf, and it wasn't the end of the quality control issues back when it was first released. You can see on the side it says Evil Dead 2, on the back some warnings, and it is in a slip cover. Just pulling the slip off, you can see the Evil Dead 2 and kind of an outline of the Necronomicon, and then on the front we have where the figure is supposed to be. So there we have it for the box. So in my usual fashion, what I'll do, I'll have a quick pan of the figure in all its splendor and glory, and then we'll move on to the accessories. And here we have Ash in all his splendor and glory. You can see at the bottom of the diorama base there, it says the Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. You can see Henrietta herself in the basement just reaching out for the Necronomicon. And I have to say, Henrietta in there is an absolutely fantastic feature. It looks great. Then you can see just coming up to Ash there, you can see him stepping on the latch for the basement, the door, and moving up you can see he has his right arm replaced with the chainsaw. We have his shotgun holstered on the back, and we have the, I always call it the Kardashian dagger. What was it called? The Kandarian dagger. And we have Linda in the vice there, and then moving down back to the nameplate. Okay, so here we have it for all of the accessories that come with them in the box, and there are quite a few, as you can see. But starting from left to right, my usual fashion, we'll have a look at his alternate shirt. And as you can see there, in comparison to the one on the pan that I just done there, he has a sleeve on this shirt. And the front pocket is intact. So the whole shirt is intact, really, where the other one is all ripped up. And the other one has blood stains in addition to all the grub and grime on it. The other one actually has blood stains all over it. Not the best quality shirt in the world. It's okay, but with the paint on it, makes it a bit more rigid than it should be, so it doesn't fold naturally in some parts because of the paint that's been applied to it, you know. But not bad, it does the job. Then we have his arms. Now he has two arms on the figure. He's one of each on the figure. He comes with two types of arms. The first arms are the exposed jointed arm, the double jointed arm, and just looking at the color tones there, you can see that the top end of it there has been painted more of a flesh tone compared to this end here, which is a bit odd, a bit unusual, but that's the way it is. And it, like I said, it is double jointed, so it does everything you need to do. I keep one on the left arm because the right arm, because it always has a sleeve on it on both shirts. Now we have a seamless arm. The seamless arm is very odd. It's meant to just be a straight arm pose, a museum pose. Absolutely meant to just be for a museum pose, because once you bend it, you can see it just deforms and looks hideous. So, like I said, it is really just like the Ace Ventura figure that they brought out that comes with these arms. It's just for straight museum posing, really. But it's nice that they give you a seamless arm in, just, you know, just for people who want to do the straight up museum pose. So, moving on, we have his hands. How many hands he got? 5 pairs of hands there, as you can see. They're all quite unique. We have 2 kind of opened gripping hands for wider objects, 2 trigger hands, 2 open palm gesturing hands, 2 closed fists, and then we have 2 gripping hands that are a bit more closed for smaller objects, obviously. All painted well in the sense that they are exceptionally dirty and grubby and dirty and filthy and just exactly like Ash's hands are in the movie. So yeah, it looks really well. There's quite a lot of dirt and grime on them. And then next up we have the Book of the Dead, or the Necronomicon. If I just grab this here, you can see they're, unlike other versions of Ash or 1/6 scale that people have brought, I think Sideshow done them, there is all the literature is in the book. It is, the whole Book of the Dead is in there, which is brilliant and absolutely fantastic by Asmus to put all that in and not just leave blank pages. Fair play to them, great job. And you can see the cover of the Necronomicon there, the fleshy kind of, it is quite flexible. It's made out of a rubber. It's very nicely done. Then we have the, as I said, the Kardashian dagger, the Kandarian dagger. Quite well detailed, looks exactly like it should. Really nicely molded. You can see it's made of a flexible rubber, so you can't actually go around stabbing people with it. But yeah, nicely done, nice little detail, nice little accessory to have. You can see the skull on the front of it there and all the bones and all the details around the back. No complaints about it whatsoever. Looks really nice. And then next up we have Ash's severed right hand. If I can get it to focus, there we go. Really quite well detailed. You can see the blood there, the blood detail on it. There we go. This is the best blood application on the figure, to be honest with you. It looks quite gory and gooey and grimy, and it is quite a flexible hand. It's made of a soft rubber, which is nice. Some nice speckling and detail on it as well, and you can see the skin all stretched on it there. It looks really nice. And then all the blood and then you can see all kind of shades of blue in it as well, hints of blue, to make it look like a dead hand. That looks really nice. Then we have Ash's infamous chainsaw. Really nice detail on this, really well done. The blade of it is actually made out of metal, which is nice. And if you pull on the cord there, if you can see here, if you pull the cord to start it up, you can see it does move up and down. Now, I'm not sure that Asmus Toys quite understand how a chainsaw works, but it does do that. It does go up and down when you pull the cord. A nice bit of detail to add, I suppose. You can see the weathering and the wash that's been put into the chainsaw to give it that realism. Nice little wooden handle detail on it. Yeah, and the blood all over the blade, and then we have the socket for where his arm goes into it. Very nice piece indeed. A little bit of weight to it as well because of those metal components. And then we have his shotgun. Cracks open, as you can see. No rounds in it, unfortunately. Not a deal breaker. But yeah, nicely finished, nicely detailed, bit of wash on it. Yeah, no complaints. The wood grain looks really nice. Yeah, looks great. And this is obviously the sawn-off version, so it's from Act 2. Would have liked to have gotten the longer version, but what can you do? And then we have the 3 sculpts. Oh no, just one more thing actually that I've left out is his bandaging, which basically sockets into the wrist peg on his right arm for when he's chopped off his own hand, so he bandages it up. Would have liked to see a little bit. Is there blood on it in the movie? I think there is. I would have liked to have seen it a little bit grubbier, but not the end of the world. And then we have his base. You can see that it does have Ash Williams still written on the front of it because they package a sticker in it now to correct the error that they made. So you have a sticker there that you have to place on the front with the correct spelling on it. But you can see the floor of the cabin is represented on the stand here, and it is absolutely saturated in bloodstains, which is a very, very nice attention to detail, and a great option to have for them. So you can, if you don't want to use the diorama base, if you don't have the space for it. So here we have the 3 head sculpts that come with him. Obviously only the deadite ash on the left here goes on his head. We'll have a look at that in closer detail a bit later on. But what I do want to look at is Linda first in the middle there. We'll have a look at Linda. And now the first thing that anybody who knows the movie is going to see is that Linda wasn't bleach blonde like that. Linda didn't have a fringe like that. And Linda certainly didn't have shaved lock areas. She looks more like that chick from Diantwood, that South African band Diantwood. She looks more like her with that fringe, with those bangs. Her hair was curlier in the movie. They got the hair way off on it, way off on Linda, unfortunately. But the sculpt is pretty cool. I really like the sculpt. The paleness of it is spot on. The eyes, the white eyes, are really on point, and the teeth are really on point. And if you can just see the neck there, the detail and the strain in the neck, and then lifting it up. If I just move her hair out of the way, you can see the blood and the gore there as well, which is painted really nice. And there are the details. There's quite some fine details in there. You can see a little hole there, and yeah, and that's a part that we're not going to see because she's going to be sitting, down, sitting like that. So you're not really going to see that part. So it's crazy that they put that detail in. And then we have, of course, Henrietta, who is in the basement throughout the movie, who is Annie's mother, if I'm not mistaken. Not a bad sculpt. It looks good. It is, you only see a portion of it, when it's in place, but you can see all the severed flesh in it there, the black dots all over the skin, the hair, the thin hair, and that was something they corrected from earlier versions of it. The hair was thicker, and you can see the details in the arm there, all the, the damage and all the severed flesh. And yeah, Henrietta, I've just knocked Linda over. And on the back of the arm there, you can see some more tearing and that. So really looks well indeed. And I might mention, and I didn't actually show it when I was recording, that you can take Henrietta's arm off and have her, in the basement without her hand sticking out, as you can see there. You can actually take that arm off and just have her head kind of peering out. So here we have the absolutely fantastic diorama base that comes with them, and I suppose starting from top to bottom, we have the boarded up window with all the wooden lats across it, and there is quite a bit of depth to them. They look really well, and you can see the silver nails, all the nails put into it as well. And just moving it to the side, we'll have a look at Henrietta in her little basement, in her little, with the basement trapdoor open with her peering out. And like I said earlier on, you can take that hand at the arm off and just have her in there with her head sticking out. It looks really, really creepy. I really like that. That looks really good. And then moving around to the back, a feature, a detail they didn't have to add. They've actually put the window frame in and that. So, when I get Deadite Ash, which is the reason why I'm doing this video in light of Deadite Ash being released soon, that's where I'm going to put Deadite Ash on the back of the display at the window. And the finer details of everything, the broken wood, and it is quite a heavy piece. It's quite a heavy piece indeed. You can see, like I said, we have the chain there that goes around the cellar door, and we have a functioning trap door that opens and closes. You don't have to put Henrietta in it, you can just close it flat. And then moving up, we have this post here with the vice on it, and if you just have a look there, you can see that it is very unstable. Asmus haven't quite, it's a quality control issue again. They have drilled the holes in the wrong place and too deep. So yeah, it doesn't quite sit in place. It hangs on, but it doesn't quite sit where it's supposed to sit. But then we have Linda's head in the vice, and the vice does actually work, does function, opens and closes, which is a nice little feature. And then down the bottom we have, oh, just to mention as well, we have a lock on it, as an old gold little lock, and the wooden floor, which is all painted very, very well, if you ask me. And then at the bottom we have the Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn nameplate, and then we have branches and stuff. To be honest with you, could have been painted a little bit better. They're a little bit flat for my liking, the paint on the branches and that. So yeah, it's just lacking. It's a little bit flat. So there we have it for the diorama base. Obviously we have the crotch grabber there as well. So there we have it for the diorama base. So without further ado, we will have a look at Ash himself. And here we have Ash standing straight up in his alternate shirt. I'll just get zoomed in, just move that stand out of the way, and we'll start off from bottom to top in my usual fashion. We'll have a look at his footwear. From what I can remember, this is pretty spot on. Maybe they weren't as light as that, or maybe throughout the movie they got darker as they got dirtier, but they are quite spot on. There is a lot of weathering on them, bit of detailing of the laces molded in, and the separation, a little bit of stitching, and a nice molded grip on the sole there with some weathering on it as well, which is nicely done. No complaints. Yeah, I'm not sure about the size of them now. Yeah, if you just to here at the front, they just might be a little bit oversized. If you can see there, they just don't, unless they're steel toes. Not the end of the world, but they just look a little bit oversized. But looking at his trousers there, you can see the first thing you see there is the tear in the trousers, which is movie accurate. It is in the right place, but there's nothing underneath it. There's no laceration. There's no blood around the tear. You know, it's just a tear in the trousers that's been basically just done with a box cutter, essentially. And there's been no detail put in, which is unfortunate. I might just add a bit of blood there myself. But all the way up the trousers, there is painted on grubbiness and grime and dirt and oil patches. But due to the amount of paint on them, the trousers are a bit rigid. They're not a bad quality, but they've just gone very rigid due to the amount of paint that's been applied on them. And you can see all the grubbiness and the grime all over his backside there, which is on point. He may have been actually dirtier than what he is here, but it's still nice that they added, they would have had to. Making him, without any weathering on him would have looked awful. The trousers do ride a little bit high. I do find myself having to pull them down a little bit just to make them ride a little bit more realistic looking, rather than Simon Cowell type trousers. You can see he has the shirt there, and unlike the other shirt, you can see that he has no sleeve, no front pocket, and you can see the addition of all the blood painted all on it, just patched all over it, and the oil and the muck. And you can see the sleeve of it there is all very grubby and oily, which is completely accurate, and it plays hand in hand with the hands being so dirty. And you can see that this arm here is the double jointed one that I've left on. There's no reason not to use the double jointed one, no matter what shirt you're using, because both of them have a sleeve on the right arm, so not necessary. So I just leave the double jointed on that one. This one I leave the seamless one on because it's exposed, and I don't bend it, because like I said earlier on, the minute you bend it, it just all goes out of shape, as you can see. So it just looks terrible. So it is meant to just be straight for a museum pose. Not very well done. As you can see there, another quality control issue is the hands just don't go into the socket on these. On the double jointed ones, they go in no problem, but on the on the seamless one, they just don't plug in. They sit there, they sit there okay, but they don't clip in. They're very loose, they're very wobbly. As you can see there, they are exceptionally loose. Yeah, a little bit of a bummer. But like I said, you're not meant to bend that arm. It's for a museum pose. But you can see that the arm is painted up into the forearm, the dirt, which is really nice that, there is a bit of continuity there. And you can see the dirty hands again, and it's as well as it can be done, I suppose, but not the best seamless arms in the world. And I'll just show you one of them, and I'll show you how it works. It's basically this little, I don't know what you call it, stupid little arm that's been put into this sleeve. So it's not filled out, there's no bicep or anything filling it out. So once you bend it, it's game over. It's terrible. But if you want to just pose him in a museum pose with his arm straight out, it's absolutely fine. But moving up, you can see he has his harness that he wears from maybe the second act, I think. Completely on point, completely movie accurate. It has the hook for the chainsaw, and on the back it has the holster for the shotgun, which if I can just reach the shotgun, you can see it actually goes the other way. There we go. No, it goes that way. There we go. Yeah, it pops right in and does the job, which looks really nice. And again, there is, in theme again, there is some weathering and some dirt and grime painted onto the material. It's not real leather, is it? It doesn't feel like real leather. No, it isn't. Just gave it a sniff there, by the way. Yeah, no, it's not. It's just a platter material, which is a bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. Hopefully it doesn't degrade over time. And you can see the collar there. It just rides a little bit high. It's not a deal breaker. Some might argue that his neck is a little bit long, but if you look back at the movie, Bruce Campbell did have a pretty long neck. One thing that's missing as well is in the movie, he has like 3 little slices on his torso there that he should have painted on, which is a missed opportunity or a missed detail by Asmus. And you can see there is kind of a rubberized body there, which adds to the illusion, which is nice, but there is absolutely no torso flex whatsoever. He is completely rigid in the torso. Doesn't go sideways, doesn't crunch, nothing, which restricts his movement. But let's get him a bit more stable and we'll have a look at the head sculpt, guys. And here we go, the head sculpts. It's Ash Williams. It looks like Ash Williams. It's a decent sculpt, if you ask me. We can all tell with the expression of the eyebrow up. It's a decent enough sculpt for Bruce Campbell as Ash Williams. I think they done well not over-exaggerating the eyebrow, which I think it was Sideshow who done it before. It was, wasn't it? And I personally think they over-exaggerated the eyebrow. I know it's an iconic thing for Ash Williams to do, or Bruce Campbell to do, was lift the eyebrow, but they didn't over-exaggerate it, thank God. I'm quite happy with that. You can see all the blood detail on his forehead, which is way more blood there on his forehead than there was in the promo images, the prototype, which I'm happy about, because I think this is movie accurate. The line on the paint is, I don't know if it's movie accurate, to be honest, but the line just seems to be a bit straight. It could have been staggered a little bit more, but it might be movie accurate. I'd have to look back. As for the lacerations or the wounds on his face, they're not molded into the sculpt. They're just painted on, which is another missed opportunity from Asmus. They should have sculpted them in. They're just painted on, and you can see how flat they are, guys. The paint is very flat. There's no gloss on it to make it look like wet. They just look like kind of reddish brown lines just painted on his face. Even in the promo picture, I don't think that cut above his top lip is even there. But yeah, the lacerations on his face are very, very poorly done, very flat, and could have been painted way better than they are. But I do like the blood up here. It looks really nice, and you can see the way it kind of gets thick and then thins out and then gets thicker again there. That's done really well. The eyes are painted quite well too. They are only painted on, but they're painted on quite well. I really like how well they're painted. And with peers with moving eyes from Hot Toys and that these days, third parties are painted on eyes don't look great anymore because Hot Toys do it so well. And speaking of Hot Toys do hair absolutely amazing. And maybe I shouldn't be comparing this guy to Hot Toys, but the hair isn't great on this guy at all. It's not bad, but it's just seems like a big black blob. There's not really any dry brushing on it. There's a little bit of wash, but there's not a whole lot of dry brushing. So it just looks like a black blob because there isn't even that much depth to it. So maybe possibly as well, guys, you might agree with me, but the sides of his hair may come out a little bit too far as well, making the top half of his head kind of look a bit too big. I don't think his hair was that bushy at the sides in the movie. It's not a deal breaker. It's not a huge issue. You may not have noticed it until I pointed it out, but his hair could have done with just being a bit slicker to his head, as it was more like that in the movie. I think it was more kind of slick to the side of his head, especially when he, at that stage of the movie where he had the blood all over him. The paint on the sculpt overall is a little bit lacking, There is a bit of texture printed into it. He could definitely do with a bit more 5 o'clock shadow. Definitely had a bit more 5 o'clock shadow at this point of the movie. And in the first movie, he didn't have so much 5 o'clock shadow, but he was a bit older in this one. And come this point in the movie, I'm pretty sure he had more 5 o'clock shadow on him. So again, Asmus missed that. And as for the blood and the ear, looks really well. You can see how, wet it looks. It is movie accurate. Overall, the sculpt kind of, it looks a bit cartoonish. It's lacking in a bit of realism, but yeah, it's just a little bit cartoonish, comic bookish, I'd love to get somebody to repaint this sculpt. I think it could be made really, really well, because I don't think it's a sculpt that's a problem. I think it's the paint. So moving on, we'll have a look at the Deadite Ash sculpt. And here we have him. The first thing I'm going to point out, guys, is the gap. As you can see there, the gap in the neck. It took a minute just to get this sculpt on. I thought I was going to snap the neck peg, to be honest with you. That's as close as far on as I can get it without risking that snapping that neck peg. Bit of again, another quality control issue. Not entirely happy with it. But I won't be posing with this head sculpt anyway, because the Deadite Ash, I believe, is going to be out next month anyway, so I won't be posing it that way, so it's not the end of the world. But I think this sculpt looks really well. Now, unlike the other sculpts, these gashes are actually sculpted in, so there is some depth to them, which adds way more realism to them. And then you can see the teeth as well. The teeth are all yellowing and more the gashes and the details. And he has the blood on his forehead as well, and the blood on his ear as well, just like the other sculpt has. But there is a bit of detail you can see in the texture and the skin texture, and you can see the creases and the crevices in it. And to be honest, I think his hair on this sculpt looks better. You can see the hair is a bit more slicked and closer to his ears on this sculpt, which is, to me, a bit more movie accurate. And the hair overall looks better on this sculpt. It just wasn't as bushy, in my opinion. You can see in the eye sockets there how deep. You can see it's painted really well, but there is a bit of depth to that, prosthetic that was put on him. And it looks really nice, and you can see that white eyes in traditional Deadite fashion there. And like I said, the hair, the separation in the hair looks way, way better on this sculpt. There is way more depth all around, more detail all around on this sculpt. I don't know why they couldn't have popped this or made more detail, in the other sculpt's hair like they did with this one. It would have just elevated the other sculpt. But there you have it for the Deadite Ash sculpt. It is definitely a viable option. You could pose him like this. Obviously, you'd have to put the other shirt on him and take the harness off for him to be Deadite Ash. But you could do a Deadite Ash with him, I suppose. I don't see why you would with the upcoming Deadite Ash, to be honest. So what we have here essentially is the two different looks for Ash Williams, with the exception of the Deadite Ash look, essentially, which only comes with the luxury edition and the diorama base. But this is the standard edition, this look here. This is the only look you get with the standard edition. You don't get this sleeveless shirt and the seamless arms. You only get the one look. But I do like both looks. That's why I have the two looks for him, because I do want to have both looks. I am a massive fan of the Evil Dead, and I am getting the Deadite Ash version as well. So if you are an Evil Dead fan, I do recommend him. He's not perfect. The paint applications are a bit soft. Those arms are a bit lousy. But if you can forgive those couple of things, he is a nice addition to your collection. I honestly think he got quite a bashing when he first came out. And in some cases, some situations, rightly so. They did correct some of them when they done the second batch. But believe it or not, this was the very first VHS I ever watched in my entire life. I think I was very young, very, very young when I watched this on VHS. And I fell in love with it from there. So yeah, this is it for the Ash Williams. I'm gonna leave you with some images now, guys, some pictures. So please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and take care, and thanks for watching.